Hello, and welcome to this webinar, the 6 tips for realigning your circadian rhythm. My name is Dr. Donald Spears. I'm a naturopathic doctor, as well as a Chinese medicine provider and clinic director of Whole Systems Healthcare Boulder Clinic. So today, I'll be talking about rhythms that occur in our body and in nature, and the importance of their alignment. But before we start, I want to paint an image for you to hold on to while we work through this talk. So take a moment to close your eyes and imagine that you're seated in a balcony of a large theater. So this theater is expansive with finely detailed vaulted ceilings. The seating lights are dimmed, and so your attention is attracted to the warm glow and sounds emanating from the stage in front of you. You see multiple musicians playing their instruments. You hear the melodic discord of their warm-up as they prepare for the performance to come. The sounds are conflicting, given the vast number of musicians playing different parts. All at once, a hush falls over the stage as the conductor approaches the podium. The sheet music is opened, the conductor's hands rise, and all the musicians ready their instruments in unity, focus, and poise, awaiting further instruction. So go ahead and open your eyes. And I want you to remember this image, in particular, the musicians, the conductor, and the sheet music as we work through today's material. So let's start with an outline. Today I will be talking about how to realign your circadian rhythm. We will start by defining what is a circadian rhythm, how it works, why we depend on it, and then we'll move into why it's important for our health, as well as 6 basic tips on how to align it. By the end of this talk, you will have basic knowledge of how to realign your circadian rhythm, as well as an understanding of the importance of a properly aligned circadian rhythm as a foundational aspect of your health. So let's start with what is a circadian rhythm. In order to understand what a circadian rhythm is, we first need to define what a biological rhythm is. A biological rhythm is a sequence of events that are repeated over time in the same manner and with the same interval in living organisms. Let's look at some examples, taking note if the examples follow the key components of the definition. Do they repeat with the same manner, and does it occur over the same time period? So here we see a flock of migrating Canadian geese. I'm not sure if they're just flying, if they're migrating, but for the purpose of this webinar, these are migrating Canadian geese. And every year, around the same time of the year, the geese make their way south to warmer climates in order to promote their survival. This is a biological rhythm. So here we see an owl staring at us at night with a way too large moon in the background. An owl has adapted to be the most active at night. Every day, when darkness arrives, an owl becomes more active. This is a biological rhythm. Here we see a low tide. This is an environmental rhythm occurring twice a day, which plays a huge part on the activity of marine organisms that live on the coastline. This is a biological rhythm for those marine organisms. Again, every year, around the same time of the year, and in the same manner, deciduous leaves turn colors and fall to the ground. Another example of a biological rhythm. Now this one's fascinating. At any given moment, you are able to breathe better from one side of your nose compared to the other. This is because every 4 hours, your nasal cavities alternate from being either partially stopped up to being clear. Try it now. Which side of your nose are you better able to breathe from? I'm better able to breathe from my left side. This is a biological rhythm. If we think of all those examples, they all followed a repetitive nature over a given amount of time, or in other words, they had a periodicity. This is how we categorize biological rhythms based on their timing. So a time structure of one day would be referred to as a circadian rhythm. The nighttime activity of an owl would be an example. 28 days is referred to as a circulunar rhythm following the moon, and the menstrual cycle would be an example. If the time period is 365 days, it is referred to as a circannular rhythm. The migration of the geese and the changing color of the leaves would be an example. For the purpose of this webinar, we will be focusing on circadian, or about one-day biological rhythms. In humans, the circadian rhythm can be defined as the physical, mental, and behavioral activities that follow a daily cycle. Examples include sleeping and wake cycles, feeding cycles, and these are controlled by hormonal cycles. So how does the circadian rhythm work? Every day, we are taking in cues from our external environment to help keep our internal clock in tune with nature's clock. The main cue that our body uses is the presence or absence of sunlight. So how it works is that light, specifically blue light, enters our eyes, triggering an impulse to a part of our brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, telling it that it's daytime. This part of our brain then organizes and coordinates processes throughout the body through pathways including the nervous and endocrine system. Now when the sun sets and the light dims, this input communicates to the brain that darkness is approaching, which then leads to the production and release of melatonin, the hormone that initiates sleep. Now remember back to our image of an orchestra at the beginning of the presentation. The musicians on stage are like the biological processes within our body, ready to go play their individual part of the performance. However, they require a conductor to make sure that they are on time and in rhythm. The suprachiasmatic nucleus, the part of our brain that acts as an internal clock pacemaker, is the conductor, ready to make sure that each member on stage is playing their part in a coherent manner based off of the rhythm presented by the sheet music. The sheet music represents the external cues that can affect our circadian rhythm, such as the presence or absence of light. So one more time, the sheet music represents the external cues, the conductor represents the pacemaker in the brain, and the musicians represent the process in our body. Like a well-conducted orchestra, our body produces harmonious music, especially when it's in tune with nature's sheet music. So why do we have a circadian rhythm? Who remembers this joke? I say, ask me what's the secret to comedy. And then you say, okay, what's the secret to? And before you can finish, I say, timing. Timing is not only important for comedians, but life as we know it. Can you imagine what life would be like if your everyday activities didn't follow a rhythmic schedule? What if you had no idea when you were going to fall asleep during the day? It just happened at different times depending on the day. And what if antidiuretic hormone, the hormone that slows down the production of urine, wasn't always released when you slept? So sometimes you peed in the bed and other days you didn't. Without proper timing, our biological processes would be similar to the warm-up of musicians on stage. Beautiful discord, but lacking the cohesive timing that produces beautiful harmony. We need to have a circadian rhythm in order to bring a cohesive rhythm to our biological processes. Now, we also require a circadian rhythm in order to stay in tune with our external environment. Our external environment has predictable and unpredictable qualities. An example of an unpredictable quality would be the weather. Here in Colorado, in April, just a few weeks ago, we had a few days of sunny 70-degree weather, followed by 2 days, 12 inches of snow, and 20-degree weather. Unpredictable. An example of a predictable quality would be the amount of daylight present in a given day. We are able to adapt to both types of changes to our external environment. The circadian rhythm is what helps us adapt to the predictable changes by aligning our internal clock with nature's clock via light input. We call this tuning entrainment. And that brings us to the main topic of this webinar. Why is entrainment of the circadian rhythm important for our health? Well, I hope it is not a surprise to you, but our survival is dependent on our external environment. Without oxygen, we cannot survive. Without food, we cannot survive. Because we are so inherently connected, it is to our advantage to entrain to nature in a way that best promotes our survival. So we evolved to be asleep at night in order to allow us to rest and recover, as well as stay protected from threats to our being. Likewise, we also evolved to be awake during the daytime in order to eat and partake in activities when it is advantageous to us. So this means that by syncing our circadian rhythm to the day's light exposure, we advantageously manifest several physiological functions and rhythms at every level of our being. So what this means is that we can grossly see we're awake during the day and we're asleep at night. But that's gross physical, but it's on every part of our being. This is happening from our organs to our cells to the chemical messengers going back and forth. But there's a catch. Our circadian rhythm can run independently. Our circadian rhythm can run on its own time and become out of alignment with nature's rhythm. While it is in our best interest to be in tune with nature, we do not have to follow her guidance. We don't have to go to sleep at night. Shift workers demonstrate this every day. However, this disconnect with nature's rhythm leads to health consequences. We'll go over this in a bit, but first let's look at what holistic medical practices say about entraining with nature's rhythm. So naturopathic medicine has some basic tenets, and one of which states, "This medicatrix naturae, the healing power of nature." Or, if you break it down word by word, it would read, "You want the healing of nature." Indeed, we do. And something that seems as simple as tuning ourselves into nature's daily rhythm is extremely powerful and crucial to laying down a solid foundation of health. This quote is taken from the classical Chinese medicine text, the Huangdi Neijing, which states, "The law of yin and yang, dark and light, is the natural order of the universe, the foundation of all things, including you, mother of all changes, the root of life and death. Opposing them, not going to bed when your Mother Earth tells you to, results in catastrophe and harms life. If one follows them, severe diseases will not emerge." So the core tenets of holistic medicine urge us to follow the rhythms of nature to maintain our health. So how do we know when our circadian rhythm is off? The most straightforward way is to note how well you transition from being awake to asleep, as well as each state's quality. The following signs can clue you in. Are you having difficulty falling asleep? What about difficulty maintaining sleep? Do you wake up feeling unrefreshed? Or are you sleepy during the day? Do you experience poor daytime concentration or performance? If you have ever experienced jet lag, then you know what it is like to have your circadian rhythm disrupted. On a side note, Dr. Kai Peven has created a jet lag protocol to help minimize symptoms through slight lifestyle changes leading up to your flight, as well as supplementation, and then Chinese medicine organ clock acupressure that you can do to help minimize those symptoms. We're unable to go over this in this webinar, but if you're interested in receiving the handout, click the link. So why is an entrained circadian rhythm important for our health? Besides from the philosophical points I previously mentioned, we can look at what clinical studies conclude. So the literature shows that circadian rhythm disruptions have been linked to inappropriate timing of the release of hormones leading to insulin resistance and inflammation. Literature has also shown that there is a correlation to heart disease, which, side note, isn't it fascinating that thousands of years ago, the ancient Greeks believed that the heart was connected and influenced by the sun. And here we see that a disrupted circadian rhythm is merely a disconnect between us and the sun. And this disconnect has the potential to lead to heart disease. Other conditions related to a disrupted circadian rhythm include bipolar disorder and metabolic disorders. So let's summarize what we have done so far in this webinar. We have defined what a circadian rhythm is. We have described how it utilizes light to tune itself into the rhythm of the day. We have talked about the health consequences correlated to a disrupted circadian rhythm. And now I will present 6 tips on how to realign your circadian rhythm. Number 1, aim for 10 minutes of morning sunshine a day. Light exposure is the most powerful circadian rhythm setter. By receiving this powerful impulse first thing in the morning, you are helping to set up the rest of your day by simply communicating to your body that it's morning. This will also help with your sleep later on in the day. Number 2, take a walk at sunset. As we mentioned earlier, the blue light of daytime communicates to your brain that it is time to be active and alert. When the sun sets, the color scheme shifts to the red-orange spectrum, which tells your brain that it's time to start preparing for dark, leading to the production of melatonin. Number 3, minimize blue light exposure after sunset. As we have already mentioned, blue light communicates to your brain that's daytime. Screens, such as TVs, phones, tablets, computers, all contain high amounts of blue light, which, when enjoyed after sunset, communicate to the brain that it's still daytime. This can potentially disrupt your sleep pattern. It is thus preferable to avoid screens after sunset. Now, I know that sometimes we need to get our fix of Netflix, and thus there exist applications such as Night Shift on Apple products and Flux, which minimize the amount of blue light exposure at night from your screen. If you find that you are particularly sensitive to blue light, you can also acquire sunglasses that block blue light. These typically have the orange lenses, and you can wear those during your screen time. Number 4, sleep in a cool, dark room. One study showed that dim light in your bedroom could suppress melatonin by greater than 50%. For this reason, I highly encourage using blackout curtains to darken your bedroom. Now, for the sake of simplicity, I only mentioned your central clock regulator in the brain, the suprachiasmatic nucleus. But in actuality, there exist peripheral clock regulators that communicate with the central clock. One of those peripheral clock regulators exists in your skin, and they can pick up light and communicate that there's light present to the central clock. Hence, using an eye mask can help when you sleep, but it will not lead us to as good of results as when you're sleeping in a dark room. Number 5, eat at the same time every day. Our internal clock regulates our digestion hormones. It also pays attention to when you are feeding as part of a feedback loop, and hence it is important to create consistency by having regular meal times. This will also lead to optimal digestion and assimilation of your food, as it will match the secretion and release of hormones for digestion. Here is an added tip. Consume the majority of your carbohydrates at dinner. This leads to better regulation of your hunger and satiety hormones, as well as improves your metabolic profile throughout the day. Number 6, perform regular, moderate exercise. So for this, you want to aim for 10 to 20 minutes of moderate activity every day. And it's preferable to perform your activity outside. Again, you're then tuning into the amount of light. If you do this activity first thing in the morning, then you're completing number 1. Or if you do it at sunset, you're completing number 2. 2 birds, 1 seed. So to summarize, the 6 tips to realign your circadian rhythm are 10 minutes of morning sunshine, walk at sunset, minimize blue light exposure after sunset, sleep in a cool, dark room, eat at the same time, regular, moderate exercise. If you follow these 6 tips, you will be well on your way to promoting health by keeping your circadian rhythm entrained. In conclusion, I hope I have impressed upon you the importance of aligning your internal clock with nature's clock, as well as have some ideas about how to go about syncing your daily rhythm to nature's. While it may seem simple, it is far from being insignificant. The more we pay attention to not only nature's daily rhythm, but that of the moon and the seasons, the more we engender our connection and appreciation with nature. It is a Taoist belief that the human lies between heaven and earth, and that they alone are gifted with self-awareness, the ability to perceive heaven and earth, to perceive the movement of the sun and its effect on the earth. And with that comes the responsibility of ensuring Earth's survival as well as their own. We are interconnected and dependent not only on nature, but the movement of the planets, the heavens as well. Realigning your circadian rhythm with nature's daily rhythm not only provides a solid foundation for your health, but the Earth's as well. If you have more questions or are not seeing results after initiating these tips, talk to your healthcare provider. Sometimes more specific and individualized treatments are needed to get your clock back in harmony. We have excellent healthcare providers at Whole Systems Healthcare that would be able to help you with your health goals. We currently have 5 clinic locations across the nation, so go ahead and see if there's one close to you. Again, thank you for listening today. If you found this webinar valuable and would like to receive more knowledge about regaining and maintaining your health, sign up for our email list. My name is Dr. Donald Spears with Whole Systems Healthcare Boulder Clinic. Have a wonderful day.